All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to be kind of taking a different direction today. Last time, of course, in chapter two, we talked about everything that had to do with the internet, with social media, and of course, its huge impact on society continues to be a huge impact on society. But today, as you watch this, whatever day it is, whatever time it is, you're actually going to be, we are going to be diving into chapter 3, which is digital gaming and the media playground. So let me real quickly call up your PowerPoint here because it'll be a big part of the next 3 little videos that you watch on YouTube. And ignore the date there. I've actually updated this lecture. But in any event, we're going to be we're going to be doing this in 3 parts. Part 1, which is in this video, is going to be talking about all the numbers that go into the gaming industry, some of the demographics, and then I'm going to be capping it off with, prompting you to watch a video that's critically important that has to do with esports, and I think that you guys should watch it. And then part 2, which will be on a different YouTube video, but in the module this week, will be on the history of video gaming. The gaming industry has a history to it, just like every other form of mass communication. We're going to get into the video game genre. So what types of video games do you maybe play, or do you have friends that play? And then we're going to talk about how advertising and microtransactions, you might have heard of the term loot box. We're going to talk about what kind of financial impact that has on the industry. And it kind of leads into part 3, which is going to be all about the addictive nature of video gaming. I have an exceptional video that I want you to watch as part of that, that was done on a news report a couple of years ago that was fantastic. And then we're going to be talking about, obviously, video games sometimes get associated with violence and isolation. And just because I don't want to sit here and have you think that I think video gaming is particularly bad, I think there's a lot of benefits to it. We're also going to be talking about video game benefits. So there's going to be 3 parts to this lecture. You will be, of course, quizzed later on this chapter. You will see it on a midterm. You'll also see it on a final. So I would encourage you to watch everything that I have to say and the videos themselves. If you don't, you kind of put yourself in a vulnerable position when it comes to, taking the test. But I also think you'll find it very interesting. All right, so let's start off with part 1, which is obviously the first part of the digital gaming and media playground. And one of the interesting things I want to mention here is that up until about 4 or 5 years ago, we taught out of an old textbook that had nothing to do, literally did not have a chapter on digital gaming, which I thought was incredibly stupid. Clearly, video gaming, mobile gaming, playing, apps on your phone. These are things that you guys do on an everyday basis. It's very widespread, and it's become very much a part of our culture, and not just from an impact and cultural standpoint, but from a financial standpoint as well. So I want to share some numbers with you here. Let me jump down to here and give you the average age of a gamer is now 35 years old, the average age, and that is actually continuing to climb. Now, why that number is, I think, probably higher than you think, is that basically video games have been around literally since the early 70s. And that's when we get into history, you guys will actually get an opportunity to kind of see how that happened. And so that means that someone like myself, and, I hate to do this, but yeah, I'm 55 years old, like Sammy Hagar says, you can't drive 55, but I'm 55 and I grew up with video games. My parents' generation, which, most of my parents have, unfortunately, my mom is no longer here. My dad is still here, but my step parents, I have one step parent who's not here and one that is. So I like to say not like to say, that's kind of a wrong way to say it, but needless to say, my parents' generation, basically didn't grow up with video games. So therefore, anyone, I would say probably older than myself, maybe as we get into like your 60s, 70s, 80s, they're not your typical video gamer. And of course, anyone younger than me, of course, is going to be massively into video games because it was a big part of their growing up, I guess. But anyway, 71% of adults, an adult is classified as 18 and up, play video games. 71%. 38% of those are between the ages of 18 and 34. So clearly, there is a large amount of folks between the ages of 18, which probably is in your wheelhouse, and 34 that play video games. Beyond that, beyond 34, of course, people play video games, but it kind of shifts. I can tell you that if I play video games at all, it's generally going to be on my phone. Whereas I used to be a pretty heavy duty video game console type of player. We'll explain what that is coming up. Anyway, 54% male play, 46% female. So that's how it breaks down in terms of male and female and who, plays games, right? Some other numbers that you might be interested in seeing: smartphones and smart watches account for more than 50% of the game market. So really, when you talk about the iPhone being invented, somewhere in the last 15, 16 years, basically those and smartwatches have now are becoming even more popular when it comes to, to gaming. So 50% of the game market. 83% of game purchases are in digital format, meaning you're probably wondering, what does that mean? Well, it just means that physically purchasing a game, which used to be a huge deal, you'd go and, go to GameStop or whatever and get that box and, you'd plug that game into your console. Those days are, kind of like we see in the television industry with the VHS tape. They're eventually going to disappear because, your games are getting downloaded, right, digitally. So 83%. Mobile gaming revenue, 57% of total gaming revenue now. So, the fact is that these phones here, right, are really becoming, the way that we play our video games. And here's an interesting number, which I didn't do a whole lot of research on. I'm just curious, but I threw it out there because I think it's very fascinating. Okay, so if you're educated, you're more likely to play video games. That's a fact, okay? So there's more educated people than uneducated people that play video games. Yet, if you make $90,000 or more, you're less likely to buy games. So have fun with that. Feel free to Google that little stat. And if you find something out, be sure to send me a note. I'd love to hear, what your theory is on that. All right, hours spent each week. Okay, this is how it breaks down on your PowerPoint. 18 to 25 years old, clearly the most hours each week on average are spent playing video games, over 7 hours. And of course, if you go all the way down to the 60 and up crowd, it's significantly less. So you're welcome to look at that, those statistics in front of you, either here on this video or certainly look at it on the PowerPoint that's attached on the module. Thought you'd appreciate that. All right, top sellers, okay, 2021. All right, so this is a very, very recent. Call of Duty Vanguard, of course, Call of Duty Black Ops are the top two video game sellers of 2021. And of course, Madden's NFL 22, which is really interesting because, as you know, we lost John Madden over Christmas or early January, I think, whatever. It was within the last couple of weeks. But anyway, he passed away. And of course, a lot of you obviously know the game John Madden NFL 22, but weren't alive when he was actually on the air broadcasting for either CBS or Fox and NBC. And just he's an iconic figure. And of course, his game is certainly an iconic game. All-time Minecraft, 238 million, and Grand Theft Auto 5, Tetris. These are how many games were sold, back in the day. So all of those are games that were available a much longer time ago. All right. This was another really interesting thing I wanted to share with you. So one of the things that we'll be hitting on every now and then, depending on the, well, we will, and I can tell you in film and television as well, is, what did or what does or how does the pandemic affect what we do, right? And so here's a snapshot. Now think back to March of 2020. So that's almost 2 years ago, which is crazy, right? And think about the fact that we were like right now, if we were talking about, where we're at early March, right? So when we see this will be about the 2-year anniversary. We had, of course, we had COVID-19 looming on the horizon. We were told, hey, we need to flatten the curve, so we need to go into lockdown. And of course, everybody went to their neutral corners. They went home, shuttered inside, weren't around people, and you had to find something to do, right? You had to find stuff to do inside or away from people. And of course, the industries that benefited were going to be obviously probably entertainment, right? And video gaming, anything to kind of get your mind off of the fact that, we were at the very beginning of a pandemic, and we had no idea that 2 years later we'd still be in, I guess, in the middle of it, right? But the bottom line is look at the difference in terms of video game industry sales. And these are, between 2018 and 19 pre-pandemic. And then of course the yellow is 2020, which is the, the year the COVID-19 hit us, right? And you can see in March of 2 years ago, you can see how much more money in video game sales across the board, all the way through June, just in this little snapshot, that, more people were buying video games because clearly they were, trying to find not just a way to stay away from people, but trying to find a way to stay entertained because we weren't doing our normal, we weren't in our normal environment, and we still aren't to this day. I mean, I think we're probably, there's many of us that have decided, that we can still live our lives and, hopefully stay healthy. But regardless, the fact is that video game sales, like Netflix on the television side, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, did very well. And of course, when we get to film, we'll talk about just how dicey that was for a while and how much it's changed the film industry. But there you go. All right, number of active video gamers worldwide from 2014 to 2021 in millions. This is really interesting. So you see the numbers climbing. 2014, it was about 1.8 billion people that played video games. By 2021, that number climbed to 2.7 billion. So considering that there's 7 billion people on the planet, that means that close to half, maybe just under half of the folks out there have some in shape or form are playing video games across the globe. So that should tell you how significant this is, a form of mass communication. Here it is in graph form, just in case you want to see how much it's climbed, and it's been fairly significant. All right, the last part of part one that I want to talk about, which includes a really cool video, by the way, is esports. Now, I know some of you in the class are probably into esports. Some of you aren't, but have heard of it, want to know what it's all about. But let me tell you, as someone who is in, I didn't get a chance to say this, I guess, in my intro video, although I should probably maybe build a narrative, right? But, along with teaching, I work for ABC7 and I'm in the sports department there. I'm a sports producer. And so I've had this background of, being a pretty big sports fan and also still, making a living off of it. And so it's been incredible to see the rise of esports within, I would say, over the last 5 to 10 years. It's been pretty remarkable. And you can see that the total audience, yearly global audience is 495 million. 495 million people watch esports. Viewership is expected to total 600 million by this year alone, 2022. Now, to compare that, just look at the viewers. In fact, that 495 million might be domestically. I'll take a look at that to clarify that number for you. But esports viewers in the United States, look at this. The NFL, which arguably is the most popular sport, period, in the country, right? We just had, I'm actually taping this a little bit before the semester starts, and I just watched some amazing games over the weekend in which they were playing down to the AFC and NFC championship, and the numbers on the NFL every week are staggering. 141 million viewers, right? Watch the NFL. Esports, okay, so this is in the United States, 84 million. Okay, so if it's globally 495, 84 million here in the US. And so you can see only the NFL is bigger in terms of viewership than esports. It's bigger than Major League Baseball, bigger than the NBA, bigger than the National Hockey League, and bigger than soccer here in the US, which is only 16 million. Hopefully it grows. I'm kind of a soccer guy. So, but yeah, so you can see just how, what a big deal this is. League of Legends, right? The World Championship last year in 2021 was viewed over 1 billion with a B total hours, right? 1 billion hours, okay? In 2021, the total prize money was $201.8 million, okay? $201.8 million total, right? And that was played across 4,177 tournaments worldwide. So again, impressive numbers. In just a bit here, I'm going to show you something that I think is pretty cool. Now, the thing that is, I think, even more amazing is the fact that esports now are being turned into college scholarships. And sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted, but if you click on that link here, let me share this with you real quick. I'm gonna stop sharing for 2 seconds and show you my other screen here. I want to show you what basically UCI, that's UC Irvine, right? So 175 college scholarships offered across the country. This is UCI, right down the road, UC Irvine, right? And they have this full-on web page, and you can see they have, if you click through it, it says about, tells you what's going on here, about, UCI. It says, news. I don't know why this is kind of slow. There we go. So they have a whole bunch of news here in terms of what they do as a program. Look at this. They have an arena. That's pretty cool, right? So this is all down at UC Irvine. So this is one of 175 schools across the country, guys, that basically, offer esports scholarships, much like you see sports scholarships at any other school. So if you're interested in that, I would click on that link and take a look around, poke around. But there's also, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of interest in esports these days, and now colleges are offering scholarships. So there is an avenue, I guess. All right, leading esports by prize pool. Dota 2 last year, 47.2 million, and you can see it goes all the way down to Arena of Valor, 12.3 million. You probably, for my esports enthusiasts, you probably recognize some of these names, right? And just to compare it to perhaps a traditional sport, if you will, the PGA Tour Players Championship, which is arguably the most prize money that these guys will play for all year, is $20 million. So it actually, there's two esports tournaments that actually pay more than the PGA Tour. The US Open dwarfs, I wouldn't say dwarfs, but certainly pays off. It would be number one on the list. And the reason I say that it's 57.5 million is, remember, you're including men and women in the US Open, where the PGA Tour Players Championship is just men. There's an LPGA Tour Championship, but again, pretty interesting numbers. All right, last set of numbers, and then we'll basically, I want to show you this video that I think is super cool. Esports audience size worldwide from 2019 to 2024 by types of viewers. Okay, so occasional versus enthusiasts, and you can see last year, for example, there were 240 million people that would maybe tune in on Twitch, which is kind of the streaming platform for esports. 234 were pretty hardcore, 234 million. That's a lot, right? And then it's projected by 2024 to climb again to nearly 300 million in terms of occasional viewers. And so you can see that there's a lot of money in the esports industry. So I wanted to cap off part one here with a video. Basically, it's called The History and Impact of Esports. Now, I will, you can find this, you can link to this on this PowerPoint. And I'm also going to play this for you. So as part of the lecture, I think it's worth it. So give me 2 seconds, and when we come back from this video, I'm going to maybe just have a couple closing thoughts before we get to part two. So without further ado, let me set up this video.
This is kind of crazy.
The esports has gone up like a rocket, straight up, and the money that's coming in now is insane.
Six-figure salary in the spotlight, on stage, and some of them are just wholly unprepared.
This chair is $1,600.
$1,600.
Yeah, this chair.
I'm living a dream for a lot of people, but yeah, sometimes it sucks because of all these drawbacks.
You guys have to rush! You guys have to rush!
So there's this badge of honor in esports that I grind. I play hour upon hour upon hour upon hour. I put in, if I grind more, I'm going to get better.
If I play for too long, I'll get pain at the end of the day.
Too long meaning how many hours?
Like 8 hours.
If he can be successful playing video games, wanted to pursue this, I would be very supportive of it.
Got him, honey. Gotta have more confidence.
Everyone knows there's burnout in this.
Depression, anxiety. There's a lot of pressure to do that kind of extra work. I love this industry, but somebody has to talk about what's wrong with it.
I usually wake up to warm up and just to see how good I'm doing, like mentally and physically, and if I'm prepared to play for 6 to 7 hours a day. I get really lost in Overwatch sometimes. My life is kind of esports in general. My whole life is just waking up and grinding.
Indy Halpin is a rising star in the esports world. He was recruited straight out of high school to play the game Overwatch for a professional team, the LA Valiant. Indy's fans know him as Space, the alias he uses in competition.
This was probably one of my first pieces of fan art that anybody ever gave to me. 2 fans that have been LA Valiant fans for a long time and always supported me even when I was like kind of unknown and on the bench. They gave me this. This is pretty meaningful to me.
When is the last day, like a full 24 hours, that you did not touch Overwatch?
The last day I didn't touch Overwatch was Sunday.
Oh, so pretty recently.
Yeah, when we were moving, actually. So I couldn't play Overwatch that day.
Indy's contract includes a salary and perks like this spacious apartment, bankrolled by what has become a nearly $1 billion industry.
This is the line to get merchandise. It is the longest line I've seen in here.
Esports has a huge fan base that pack arenas to watch their favorite players go head to head. It's become a business that pioneers of competitive gaming could not have imagined only decades ago.
Yes! At least if I get one hit in, I'm happy.
As far back as the late 70s, early 80s, sort of this idea of, hey, these video games that are there for fun and entertainment, there's people out there that are real good. Well, how do you prove you're the best in the world? The only way that's going to happen is if the best players in the world get together. So someone had the idea, right? Let's put a prize pool on this. I would say that one of the most notable early examples of this is actually with Quake, where John Carmack, the developer of the game, said, I'm going to put up my personal Ferrari as the prize to the best Quake player that we can find.
And I remember realizing that I was gonna win, and I actually noticed the reflection of the Ferrari in my monitor in those last few seconds, and I got really nervous.
After his 1997 victory, Dennis Fong was recognized in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's first professional gamer.
When you became the first esports star, as you say, it was almost accidental. It was the right place at the right time. As far as you see it, how has the industry evolved just in the past few decades?
I mean, it's evolved a ton, obviously. When I first started, you know, you're talking about having hundreds of spectators in a room, which was a lot back then. Now you're talking about tens of thousands of spectators, you know, equivalent to, you know, real sports.
This is what people are interested in, and around the world for that matter.
Steve Cohen is Chief Strategy Officer for AEG, the largest sports ownership group in the world. AEG's portfolio of over 43 professional sports teams boasts several successful esports teams as well, including Indy's team, the LA Valiant.
How do you measure the size of the esports market? How big is it?
900 million to $1 billion for this year, and expected to go to at least 50% over that by 2020. Here at Staples, we sold out a tournament in less than 15 minutes. You've got public companies like Activision Blizzard or EA Sports. These are multi-billion dollar companies. You start adding all of the values of those companies together, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars right there.
Esports is dominated by teenagers and men in their 20s. Yuliang Peng, who goes by Doublelift, is a veteran superstar of his game, League of Legends, at just 25 years old.
The first pro player I've ever known of was just Doublelift.
Like what he stands for, how he approaches the game, I think is a really intelligent way of going about it. So I just wanted to support him.
You can find a way. You lean on each other, you lean on your experience, and you believe that there's a way. So take a deep breath and strengthen that idea in your mind that you have so that you're decisive, even when it's hard.
Top players like Peng train in state-of-the-art facilities with luxuries other pro athletes have had for years.
Yeah, honestly, it looks so sick, right? It looks so good. This is One Up Studios, which does all of production, videos, photos. We have war rooms, which are like mini meeting rooms.
Humble guy over here didn't mention that there's a mural of your team.
Yeah.
Your face and your head featured prominently.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I sometimes forget that that's the case. It's just pretty cool to have my face just like on the wall. Yeah, this is our kitchen where we eat every day. Manny cooks 2 meals a day. This is the guy that carries our team. Honestly, Manny carries our team. No one appreciates it, but we like sustain ourselves off Manny's cooking, so.
What are the dietary restrictions of this guy? What are his kind of...
Make it good.
That's it?
Make it hot.
Yeah, dude, we love Manny. Everyone loves Manny.
I'm here for them, honestly.
Everyone loves Manny.
I may know how to cook, but it's not that makes me, it's what makes them. It's what they need to make them better.
Later on, it could be #1, but right now we just want to get secure top 4.
You know, when esports first started, there was no sports staff at all. It was just 5 guys who just loved playing games, and like I was a part of that. Where like there was no manager, there was no coach. It was just like 5 players on a team. And now I think like it just gotten to the point where there's just so much eyes on the scene. There's so much money. There's so much like partnerships, opportunities to make money or to like collaborate with others. You know, it's like a fully fledged business.
Peng's net worth is estimated to be over $1 million, and he has 1 million followers on Twitch, an online gaming platform where users watch others play.
League is a highly competitive game. There are casual players that only play for fun, but League is a game where you can really find a lot of self-improvement every time that you play. Like, initially, I just loved it as a player, and now I love it as a professional. I won't have to worry about money for a while, and I'm really grateful for that.
As fortunes rise for top esports players, many parents that might have once discouraged their kids from spending hours playing video games are now cheering them on.
Which guy is yours?
He's up there in the second seat on the right.
You're all here as a family.
Yeah, because I enjoy it. I can relate, right?
Like many parents at this local esports competition, Hui Dang Vu is eager for his son Connor to excel as a gamer.
I'm not in the video game industry. I have a finance background. Being online has the same social dynamics as any other team sport. If he can be successful playing video games and wanted to pursue this, I would be very supportive of it.
Who's hungry?
I'm hungry.
Since Connor loves gaming so much, I actually looked up online what the average salary for a pro player is, and I think it's around 60,000 or something. I feel like the skills that he's learning will go, even beyond the gaming world.
Oh!
You wrecked him.
You got him, honey. Gotta have more confidence. Oh yeah, you're way faster than him. You're a master at Genji.
No, stop.
All right.
Oh, no.
I can't handle the stress.
Maybe the piano lessons, all the traditional things that maybe I even did with my oldest child. Maybe it's time for us as a different generation to look at things through their eyes. Hey Connor, you just got this text from your teacher. Good luck, Connor, today in the 1v1. Last night, one of our players who won the Fortnite tournament was offered a scholarship.
Wow, that's impressive.
Are you now wanting him to be much better at these games and improve skills?
That is kind of where I'm going now, like understanding that there's like clubs and leagues and things like that, and that maybe there's even support in the college environment for this, that there's scholarships available. So let's see where it goes.
Did you just win?
Yes.
You won the tournament?
Yeah, play of the game right here. This is how he won right here. Pretty epic win right here.
Elite teenage players are now getting access to the same resources as conventional athletes. Colleges have launched competitive esports leagues, and over 100 high schools have developed dedicated esports programs as part of a recently created North American Scholastic Esports Federation. Here at one of the 56 high schools in Southern California with an esports program, gamers that a decade ago may have been socially isolated are now training in groups and eyeing a growing array of careers in the industry.
What do you say to the people who have no clue about what esports are or how big they are globally?
I think simply this is a new world.
There's so many subsidiaries that go into the esports and the gaming industry as a whole. There's the IT directors, there's the marketers, there's the coaches, there's a whole community that's involved, and it's not just people who play the games.
What is the biggest misconception about gamers like yourselves?
They're just a bunch of nerds or something like that. I know a lot of people out there have, like, I've heard just around saying like, oh, it's just like the gamer club or like Fortnite, blah, 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 but the truth is it's like a lot of people have stated already, it's a really big team sport.
I want to work in video game design. Like, I know USC has a great video game design program there.
With this club, with the help of this club, I've developed a love for computer science and programming. So I'm starting to look at, hopefully I can get accepted into University of California, Irvine, because I know they have a really good esports program.
But for the elite few who have their sights set on the arena, the road to stardom can take a heavy toll.
You guys have to rush. You guys have to rush. Yeah. Let's go fast. Push tank. We don't need them.
This is a typical day for Indy and his team at the LA Valiant Training Center. Practice, game review, and more practice.
Let's go.
But like fighting every single time, whenever we have the chance, and try to win every single time, is probably not the best way to do it. We keep using the Zarya bubbles on Fate every single time.
People are just worked so unbelievably hard because it's a 24-hour industry, too much money. They very often lose sight that players are people.
In his years of covering the issues that plague the esports scene, journalist Richard Lewis has seen the long hours lead to immense pressure on the players.
A 12-hour, 14-hour day is not uncommon, and they do this at least 6 days a week, very often 7, which is why we have all these like terrible issues with burnout and players kind of getting ground up by 24, you know.
Indy has earned a reputation for working long hours, and at 18 years old, he's starting to get injuries more common to people at least twice his age.
The last time we taught, there was your lower back, way before that, and then your wrist, and then you had thumb stuff. So what about your wrist? So we had kind of both sides, really, right?
Yeah.
So the front side, you had kind of that sharp burning pain that you messaged me about. Has that come back recently?
No, it's just been like, if I play for too long, I'll get pain at the end of the day.
Wrist injuries have become prevalent in esports and can end careers before they get started. But for many players, mental health issues are as much a concern as the physical.
You know, back when I used to play in middle school or in high school, there wasn't that much stress because we're not competing that hard. But when I went into esports, it's a whole different level of stress. When you're playing against professionals, it's always in the back of your mind, basically. Just, you always have that pressure on your shoulders that you have to perform and you have to do really well so that you can win and take everything home.
They're going good.
Because you have to remember, a lot of these guys live in the same house. They live in a gaming house, right? Where, you know, the team literally lives together, eats together, breathes together, trains together, and there's intense pressure not to get a girlfriend. Yeah, if you're in a house of 6, 7 guys and everybody else is deep in their training, you're just gonna bounce for a weekend. You know, I think there's just kind of that social pressure, even if it's unsaid or unwritten.
Hey, real quick, before you eat, the most important thing to do is to activate yourself earlier in the morning.
Some teams, like Indies, have hired team psychologists to help players deal with the stress.
There's stereotypes that go along with the sport of, I grind, I play hour upon hour upon hour upon hour, I put in 12-hour days, and so there's this badge of honor in esports that if I grind more, I'm going to get better. Their brains are constantly churning, you can see the stress in their face and in their eyes, and so what we're trying to do is avoid that burnout, avoid that 2-year career that the player plays and makes a decent amount of money for those 2 years, but then goes from that to nothing.
It seems as though the lifespan for esports athletes is brief. Is that accurate in your view? Is there anything to be done about that?
I don't know if there's a real answer to that yet. I think it's too early days. You know, remember that this is just the first generations coming up.
The unknowns seem to be the biggest hurdle in plotting a plan ahead. What are some of the other challenges over the next half decade?
I think we're prepared to scale up fairly quickly, and I think there are a lot of other people in the ecosphere that are prepared to scale up quickly as well. I think the danger comes when you don't do it in a responsible and sustainable way. And I get worried about hot money just screwing this up. That's what I worry about.
The money that's coming in now is insane, and people don't want to miss out on getting their slice of that.
When you look at something like football, American football, you've got the NFL, you've got the teams, you've got the players, and the players have their agents. For esports, which entity has the real and true power?
It's the developers. They make the game, and the game is viewed as intellectual property. There's no player association, there's no unions, nobody's looking out for you. I've heard players speak out against the NFL, and they don't have to worry about never playing ball again. You don't have those options in esports. The developer owns the football.
In addition to his grueling schedule for the LA Valiant, Indy was tapped to play on Team USA in a global tournament, the Overwatch World Cup.
Some noise if you're ready for some Overwatch tonight.
How are you feeling at this moment?
I'm nervous. to play in front of this crowd, for sure.
Some interesting things you were posting about a couple of days ago. Getting brand new shoes from Nike just because you're you. What was that like?
It was amazing. I never thought I would ever get a pair of shoes from Nike. To actually be here and play today is like a dream come true. So.
This squad needs no introduction. Please show some love for you. I think we know who the hometown crowd is cheering for, Zoe.
Oh, and all the gameplay takes place here, center stage.
20 seconds to game. Stand by the flash to game.
They know it's finally the time to see the Americans on top of the podium.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flash.
Edmund finds yet another one. Support seemed to be his diet of choice right now, and he's eating like a king. Across the points, Mets will be desuited. Kim has to commit himself to the point, but he's on his own.
Release your score and score.
Now the drop down will be from Fusions. He switched over to Wrecking Ball. A lot of health, a lot of mobility, but it's going to be tough for him to retake control of the point, and as soon as he leaves it, that one is done.
By the end of the first game, the US team was winning. But this is a best-of-5 elimination match.
Things turn around quickly. The UK is ahead, and it seems like Team USA is about to lose.
If there was any time, it was right there. And the United Kingdom complete the upset we never thought we'd see. It's game one, and the USA are out of the Overwatch World. Will definitely be held aloft now. So much expectation on this USA roster, so much raw talent.
For the billions of gamers across the globe, the rise of esports is a hard-fought dream come true.
I've always been someone who goes out and says, like, yeah, sometimes it sucks because of all these drawbacks, but at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it, and I'm living a dream for a lot of people.
Where is that determination to be the best coming from?
I don't know, I'm just getting started.
It's just getting started.
But fortune and glory comes at a cost that is still not fully known.
We're the guinea pigs of this new sort of phase of sports that's gonna go across the entire nation eventually. It's kind of fun to be sitting in the driver's seat.
In esports, you can literally jump from being in a bedroom into being a six-figure salary in the spotlight on stage 3 months later, and some of them are just wholly unprepared.
I don't think I'm being unduly conservative in saying there's something here that matters, and you can really screw it up.
For I love this business, I love this industry, but somebody has to talk about what's wrong with it.
I took them with me. So yes, the match days shoes. This is, I'll probably, as time goes on, just start collecting more shoes or whatever else I'm interested in.
Like hopefully that's the beginning of your collection right there, right?
Yeah. It's my job and it's my life, so it's a profession and it's how I make money. So I have to put my 110 into this at all times. You know, I'm not just playing a game for fun anymore.
So hopefully you just watched the video, and if you didn't, you absolutely want to click on that link and make sure that you do. The video does bring up a lot of good points, right? You know, it's amazing to watch esports. It really, I think, just based on that video alone, I think really kind of has sort of a relationship with what you call traditional sports, right? You know, the training, the money. I mean, the money is crazy, right? So. Anyway, it's one of those things where if we were in class, I'd probably get your real-time reaction to it, because I think you probably found that very interesting. But esports are obviously a big part of the landscape now in the gaming industry, and you can see that they're equivalent, if not exceeding, what we have traditionally grown to love from the likes of football, baseball, etc. And so, yeah, and arenas are filling up. I read last year, by the way, that obviously the pandemic dramatically affected, like everything, dramatically affected live crowds at arenas to watch esports, and of course now starting to come back, of course, like everything else. And so if you look at the actual amount of people that were watching esports live, it's significantly less to start 2021, and it's grown quite a bit in the second half of the year. All right, well, that's it for part one. Part two, of course, when you click on the next video, we're going to get into the history, the genre of video gaming, and of course talk about advertising and how that relates to the industry. So I'll see you when you guys click on part two. Thanks a lot.